Doctors didn't even want to see me because I was considered an impossible case. I'm sorry, son. There's nothing I or any doctor can do here. You're always going to be in pain and you'll never be able to go back to work. I was day drinking, using drugs. I was suicidal. And then I got into positive thinking and alternative medicine. You have a subconscious program for how much money you make, for your physical health, your emotional health, how much free time you have, your mood, your sense of purpose. Most of us take far better care of our car than we do our brains and our bodies and our consciousness. Everything is just programmed into you. And we think we're so smart and so clever and trying to make all these decisions. No, it's all an illusion.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Vibrant Soul Society, the conversations. And our mission for the show is to help you discover that you have thoughts, but you are greater than your thoughts. And beyond your thoughts is your divine essence, that aliveness, that beingness. I'm your host, Baba Sam, and they call me the Miracle Man. Today we have a very special guest on our show. So, Brent, welcome to the conversations.
Oh, this is great. Excited to be here.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to have you as well. So, people that are unfamiliar with you, Brent, how would you describe yourself?
I think you might call me a metaphysical engineer. And it's because my background is science, engineering, technology. But then I had a life-changing experience, and I've been a full-time professional energy healer and spiritual teacher for over 20 years. And I'm here to share the best of what I learned with you and your audience with the goal that hopefully we can find someone and give them what they need to move forward.
That sounds pretty profound, the metaphysical engineer, but it sounds like you had something happen this human journey. So,
Yep.
what was this experience?
So it's funny that I grew up, I was your typical nerd. I loved video games, Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings, things like that. And I really wanted to be a video game developer. When I got to college at MIT, I discovered the internet. Sounds funny today, but back in the 80s, no one had heard of the internet. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. Long story short, I became a specialist in network programming, went on to graduate school at MIT, and I became one of the people that created a lot of the foundations of the modern internet as part of what was called the World Wide Web Consortium. And when the internet boom hit, I'm like, wow, this is my gold rush. So I left MIT, recruited my lifelong best friend to form tech startups. Our first company was for websites. And it's crazy. The first website I ever built in my life was the website for the launch of the Sony PlayStation, summer of 1995. That was my first website. And we did websites for Nissan Motors, Disneyland. We had about half a dozen Fortune 500 clients, but I got bored with the web. I wanted to make video games. And we had a vision to create a whole new kind of game. Today we call them MMORPGs, or massively multiplayer online role-playing games, or MOGs. But again, it was nothing but an idea back then. I built this video game called Underlight that was the world's very first three-dimensional, real-time, persistent state role-playing game played online. And it came out in January of 1997. There were a couple problems, though. One is we were 5 to 10 years ahead of the market. I was so far ahead of my time, no one was looking for that kind of game then. They didn't even know it existed. Secondly, I was so dedicated to my career. I wanted to be successful so badly. I was working 80, 90, 100-hour weeks, week in, week out for years, and it destroyed my health. It started with really horrible repetitive stress injuries. I learned years later I had chronic Lyme disease. There was a neurological disease I was born with. I was suffering from chemical poisoning, on and on. I was a train wreck. And long story short, I was soon in so much pain, I could hardly work. I had to move in with my parents because some days I needed help just getting dressed or cutting my food. But I didn't panic at first, figured the doctors can fix me. So I spent years in conventional therapy and got worse. And it all blew up in my face. In 1998, I had gotten an appointment with the head doctor at the Curl and Jobe Physical Therapy Clinic, which is one of the best in the world where a lot of professional athletes, Olympians go. And I thought, hey, this guy will know what to do, right? And I was so excited to see him. And when I did, I remember I walked into his office and he had my medical charts in front of him. And he just said, I'm sorry, son, there's nothing I or any doctor can do here. You're always going to be in pain and you'll never be able to go back to work. And I was dumbfounded. I was honestly speechless. And the last thing he said, as he led me out of his office, he said, son, I'm going to do you a favor and recommend you for permanent disability. Is there somewhere you can go and someone that can take care of you until you die? And I was still in my 20s. And when I told my best friend and business partner, I figured he'd be all, hey, Brent, hang in there, right? We'll get through this together. Nope. He turned on me, fired me from the positions at the companies I had founded, stole them from me using legal maneuvers we won't get into. And I found out a little bit later it's because he had been secretly dating the woman I was crazy in love with. That when I left MIT, I was a superstar. People called me the next John Carmack. I thought I'd be a millionaire by 30. Instead, I found myself living with soul crushing chronic pain. Doctors didn't even want to see me because I was considered an impossible case. I was living with my parents, I was day drinking, using drugs, I was suicidal. And then I got into positive thinking and alternative medicine. And long story short, I thought, hey, maybe there's an answer here. So I spent years running up a gigantic credit card debt, doing alternative treatments, acupuncture, herbs, homeopathy, osteopathy, cleanses, special diets, magnets, chi machines, lasers, on and on. I could talk for hours. But it was so frustrating. Nothing helped me. I just got worse. And then it all came to a head. I agreed to have an experimental surgery. And long story short, I woke up, my right arm was paralyzed. I couldn't move it at all. So that was rock bottom physically. I could not drive my car safely. I couldn't floss my teeth. It's amazing the things we take for granted in our day-to-day lives. You don't notice it till you can't do it, right? Even something as simple as going to the bathroom became really challenging. And I tried all sorts of things to fix it. It wouldn't work. And it was actually my Aunt Lauren had told me about her friend Terry. She had been really successful financial professional and had a massive health crisis and almost died. And she found this method of energy healing involving theta brain waves and subconscious blocks that not only did it save her life, she was so impressed she quit her career in finance to be a healer. And I was like, wow, this lady's gone off the deep end of the new age pool, right? But my Aunt Lauren was like, okay, Brent, she nagged me. She called me once a month. Have you seen Terry? I'm like, no, Lauren, it's a waste of time, a waste of money. I've done Reiki healing and pranic healing. It doesn't do anything. It's stupid. And eventually she's, Brent, go see Terry. I will pay for the session and take you out to dinner anywhere you want in the city. And I was like, even Drago? She's like, yes, Brent, we'll go to Drago. I made an appointment, not because I expected to get better. I just wanted a free dinner. And she talked to me a little about the subconscious and how we can check for blocks with muscle testing and make shifts. And it made sense to me. It's like debugging software. So we talked for an hour. She asked me about what had happened with my best friend and my childhood and all this stuff. And it was interesting, but the whole time I'm thinking, lady, I'm not here to talk about my feelings, right? I'm here because I'm in a lot of pain and I can't move my arm. I didn't see what one had to do with the other. So at the end of our session, she closed her eyes and said, we're going to heal your arm now. I'm like, yeah, you and what army, whatever. And I'm just sitting there and she's in a trance for about 30 seconds. And there was this loud pop and crack in my elbow, like a firecracker went off. And I remember I was like, whoa. And Terry opened her eyes and she was like, let's try your arm. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Though what I actually said was a little more R-rated, but in case children are listening, I won't repeat those words here. I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. I had my arm back. And that was the moment that this very rational, skeptical science and engineer decided to devote my life to healing and intuition. But before we go any further, I always want to be really clear and honest with people that it's not all my problems were solved in an hour. It's not like I had one session with Terry and lived happily ever after. My paralyzed arm instantly healed and never gave me trouble again. But the chronic pain, the depression, the anxiety, none of my other issues healed instantly. But with a lot more time and work, I was able to get through them. And I was able to reduce my pain, start a new career, pay off my debt, start dating and exercising, and resume a somewhat normal life.
Wow, what a tremendous journey that you've been on, Brent. Yeah, absolutely. It just reminds me, at the very beginning of the story just reminds me that when you called yourself a nerd, yeah, I was there too. I'm the one that had the first computer on my street, and that's what I did. That was my mindset because I really didn't like people. I was always in my own little world.
Yep.
And I can totally relate to everything that you were saying, especially when you said the doctors can't fix me. It's the doctor's job to fix me. And when the doctors say, that you're incurable, there's nothing we can do for you. Because I lived with that too, but I was always under the impression that it's the doctor's job to fix me. If they can't fix me, then I can't fix me.
Yep.
And that kept me locked in the medical system for
Hmm.
38 years, taking all this medicine, seeing all these doctors. And just like you, I was seeing the cream of the crop at the University of
Right.
Pennsylvania.
Of that.
Right. You
Yeah.
get
I've
these,
often found they're often not the best doctors, by the way.
yeah, they were doctor PhDs. They had double discipline, and it was like, this is all we got is this medicine for the rest of
Yep.
your life, and you're going to be disabled and all these stories. And it just wasn't that way. And you were saying it was your aunt that turned you
Yeah.
onto this.
Yeah. And it's she's never been into that stuff either. It was just Terry was her best friend. And when
Hmm.
she saw what happened, that Terry almost died, and then all of a sudden she's back better than ever, she was like, wow, there's got to be something there. So that's how
Yeah.
I got into it.
It's
Again,
a
I
very
never would have thought that. I didn't expect anything. I just wanted a free dinner.
That's really profound, though. That's where I was too, where I was oblivious to the spiritual world. When I was suicidal in a mental hospital, I had an uncle walk in who was an evangelical
Mm.
pastor. He
Hmm.
came in to cast the demons out of my head.
Okay. How'd that
So
go?
it pushed me away from spirituality and
Yeah.
religion.
It's funny. I was actually almost anti-religious because when I was in college, as an undergrad at MIT, for a little while, I got involved with a cult. Now, I didn't know it was a cult, right? They don't advertise that. But when I got into that and then got out of it, I'm like, oh my God, religion, stay away. Stay as far away as you can. Though, admittedly, I was never an atheist, always an agnostic, simply because no good scientist can prove there is no higher power. So I think anyone who's an atheist and a scientist is like, dude, take your pick. You can't have both. So I was a confirmed agnostic that all religion was just a bunch of crap designed to manipulate people.
Mm.
But that's why now I see spirituality and religion are different beasts. And there is a lot of spirituality within religion for sure. But if you don't
Yeah,
know how to tell the difference,
absolutely. Yes. Yes. So it's really nice that your aunt turned you onto this and you're still the skeptic and you're like, I'm going for a free dinner. Then we'll see
yep,
this person.
admittedly, I'm still a skeptic. I've just learned to be an open-minded skeptic. So what I tell everyone is you don't have to believe anything I'm saying here. This is not about belief or faith. This is have your own experience and decide for yourself. So if you didn't believe in gravity, I wouldn't argue. I would throw a rock in the air and go, look what happens. And that's what I encourage everyone to do. Try it for yourself. Have your own experience before you decide. Not for everyone, sure. I'm
Yeah.
intense. I'm obsessed with the truth. I have no time for nonsense. I'm very much, let's identify the problem, go in and solve it. Next thing.
The debugging software.
Yes, I'm an engineer. MIT taught me how to be an engineer. Now I work in the medium of human consciousness rather than electronic computers.
So
But
you're
so much of
debugging.
what I learned applies
So,
directly here. Yes.
so I would say you're debugging conscious. Where's that
Yes.
thought process
Yes.
coming?
Yes. I call it consciousness technology. And a lot of what I do with people day to day is really debugging the subconscious, which is just software. And it's funny. I remember when I was in grad school at MIT, in Boston, you have these like really brutally hot, humid summer days. We'd have maybe two, three, four a summer. And when that would happen, none of the grad students could afford air conditioning. Are you kidding me? We were like eating out of garbage cans. We were so poor. So on those really hot summer days, everyone would drag a sleeping bag and a pillow and we'd pile into the server room at the computer lab because it was air conditioned 24/7. And so it was like the middle of August, like 95 degrees at 2 in the morning. And I'm laying there, with like 20 other grad students around me trying to get some sleep. And it struck me that, oh my gosh, people are just like computers. Your body's the hardware and the subconscious is the software. But at the time, it was just an interesting thought and I forgot about it. And it must have been almost 10 years later that I had this experience with Terry. I'm like, wow, I think I'm here to be a software engineer on people, that you can debug your subconscious. That way it works is simple. We got a program inside of us for every area of your life. You have a subconscious program for how much money you make, for your physical health, your emotional health, how much free time you have, your mood, your sense of purpose. Everything is just programmed into you. And we think we're so smart and so clever and trying to make all these decisions. No, it's all an illusion. Your subconscious is making all your decisions for you. And when you learn how to rewrite your source code, the sky's the limit. That when I was a software engineer, I used to like to brag that, hey, you give me enough time and enough money, I can make a computer do almost anything. And now I see the same is true for people. If you know what you're doing, if you have the right technology, you can reprogram yourself from the inside out. And it's not magic. If I had a magic wand that could make you a healthy billionaire overnight, I would use it, but I don't. Just there's no magic wand that can instantly debug a complex piece of software. But there is processes and technology that applied can do these things. And that's what I've done. I'll admit, I was not born with some incredible talent for healing or channeling like some people are. Everything I know about this, I learned from other humans. My angle, I was going to reverse engineer the masters. So starting with Terry and later with Carl Wolf and a lot of other people, I spent a lot of time and a lot of money working with them, paying very close attention and, making very detailed notes. And over time, I started to see the patterns that essentially I did with healing and intuition and spiritual work. what they taught me at MIT. You take things, you take them apart, you figure out how they work, then you put them back together and make them better. So I didn't invent energy healing or intuition or manifesting, but I did study with some of the best in the world and I figured out what they were doing. And I think that makes me an amazing teacher because how do you teach a natural talent? You can't. But when you really figure it out in terms of the underlying science technology, then anybody can learn it. And that's the truth. I can teach anybody to be a healer. All you need is a little bit of time and a willing attitude. This is something that is built into us. We all have these incredible abilities for healing, for manifesting, for intuition, for overcoming suffering. But most of us have no idea it's there or how to use it. Hence consciousness technology. This consciousness in your head that's you, that has thoughts and feelings and makes decisions. What is that? How does it work? And more importantly, how do we use it in an effective way? That for a lot of us, our subconscious is just sabotaging our lives and holding us back. My goal is to make it into your ally. Instead of sabotaging you, it'll support you. And what you want to do, whether it's physical health, emotional health, money, career, purpose, service, it's all the same. Just like it's all the same code that makes up the programs in your computer, isn't it? Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel, it's not like they invent a brand new computer language for every piece of software. It's all the same stuff, right? And healing is the same. I'm just here to show you how to use the greatest gift we've been given is our consciousness. Most of us take far better care of our car than we do our brains and our bodies and our consciousness. Now, I'm not saying neglect your car. I'm just saying maybe you should give a little of that attention to your consciousness. That's all.
Yeah, there's a lot of good nuggets in there that we can really dive into, but I'm really curious about this one because people may not understand. I definitely didn't understand this when I was in the midst of my health crisis. We are programmed, and they're showing that in these studies that the body is taking action before we decide to take that
Yes.
action.
Have you read Robert Sapolsky's Determined?
No, I have not read
It just
that.
came out last year. It's an overview of all the scientific research into this. How does it work? How are decisions made? And what you said is what they found. And this is, again, this is not philosophy or religion. This is hard science. That your subconscious, your body and subconscious make all your decisions for you, often before you're even aware there is a decision to make. The one that really blew my mind, which for me, this is a huge part of what I call the process of awakening, is there was an experiment, I think it was done in Germany in the 70s, 80s, I forget, but I think it was late 80s, early 90s when they first had what are called fMRI machines. And that's basically, it's a real-time brain mapping. They show you what's happening in your brain in real time. And what they did is they put people in the tube and they gave them a clicker in each hand. And they would show them an image on a screen and they'd make a decision, click right or click left. What they found was they could determine with over 90% accuracy which you were going to click even before the question appeared. To me, that's mind blowing. So, this you think is up in your head with your thoughts and your ideas and your feelings, that's an illusion. Your subconscious makes all your decisions for you. Everything is built on what happened in the past. And that's why, for example, you take two people, you give them the same strategy or business plan or exercise program, they will get vastly different results. Why? It's not how it works. And especially a lot of people think that this stream of thoughts in our head, we think that's us. And we think it's clever and smart and has our best interest in mind. And so, what I want everyone to hear, Brent's experience, and I think yours is the same, at voicing your head, one, it's not you. And it does not always have your best interest in mind. It is truly, and this is where technology is a wonderful metaphor. It's like ChatGPT. I don't know if you've used ChatGPT, but it's a pretty cool technology. You can log in and say, write me a 20-page sci-fi story about humans exploring Venus. And boom, 2 minutes later, it's there. It seems like it's smart. There's no intelligence there. It's just an algorithm and a giant set of data. And it is deterministic in that there's no free will. It's just a matter of ones and zeros. And that's how humans work. There is no free will in the mind and the ego. That's an illusion. Our bodies and minds operate somewhat deterministically. In other words, if I know what's in your subconscious, I can know in advance how you're going to react in any situation. And this is where things like psychological profiling, like they do with the FBI, why it works so well. We are slaves to the subconscious. We think we're so clever, so smart, but that voice in your head, that's just your subconscious. It's just a piece of software. It's an algorithm with a big set of data, just like ChatGPT. and it creates the illusion of intelligence. Part of the freedom we can experience through awakening is freeing ourselves from that chain. Voicing your head is not you, and it does not always have your best interest in mind. And here's one that's a little more advanced teaching. I'm going to say this because some people maybe need to be knocked back in their chairs. Very few of us actually know what's going to be best for us in our lives. We all have an ego. We all think we know what we want, right? I want more money. I want to lose weight. I want to be healthier. I want to fall in love, whatever, right? Just because you think you want something, because it appears in your head, doesn't mean it's the right thing for you. And that was a hard one for me because at least I used to be really smart. When I was in grad school, some of my friends actually had an intervention for me once. And I was like, what? You think I'm drinking too much? I was confused. They're like, no, Brent, we need you to know you're our friend. We love you, but you piss us off. You're right about everything all the time. Knock it off. And so I just became very arrogant and I always thought I knew best. What I want people to hear is we all think we know what's going to be best for us. Just open to the possibility that sometimes you're wrong. That in the 90s, I wanted to be a superstar software engineer, a game developer. I really thought that I'd make millions and spend my days hot tubbing with supermodels. And when my life cratered and I ended up on disability with horrible pain, I was just devastated, miserable. I had no idea that it would lead me to a better place. And quite simply, had I not had that massive crisis, I probably would have made a lot of money, but I would have been absolutely miserable. I would have been an arrogant ass. I probably would have had three ex-wives and four kids in drug rehab. And I may have had a lot of money and shiny toys, but it would have been a nightmare. Hey, at the end of the day, whatever happens is actually in our best interest. We just don't have the context or the vision to understand it and see it. No, I'd say it's like when you have to take your cat to the vet. I don't know if you've ever tried to take a cat to the vet. They do not like cages. They do not like cars. They do not like being in strange places, right? They're furious or fearful. But sometimes that's what has to be done for their best interest. And so a lot of our setbacks in life are that. We don't want it, we fight against it. And maybe years or decades later, you go, oh, I guess that really was what was best for me. So I would say one of the ways you set yourself free is I don't know if you can turn off that voice in your head. I've never been able to do that. But you don't have to pay attention. You don't have to follow it. Just let it be there. It's kind of like the radio on when you're in the car. It's on, but you don't have to pay attention to it. You don't have to take it seriously. If you want to, you can. But that's part of the freedom, the ending of suffering, is recognizing that we are not separate beings. We are the witnessing of an experience, not the thing itself. And you are not a man. I am not a human. We are all an eternal witnessing, and there's only one of that. But in our culture, as I'm sure we all get so identified with the ego. I think I'm Brent. You think you're Baba Sam. I think this is my house, my life, my wife, etc. No, that's all a big illusion. It's a scam. There's only one of us. We're everyone and everything. And that's why there was a famous rabbi from Nazareth who said, that which you do unto the least of my brethren, you do unto me. So just know, every single person out there, every animal, every rock is all you. There's only one of us here. Everything you do unto others, you're doing unto yourself. And I believe that's why all of our great spiritual teachers led lives of service, because they recognized I'm not this human shell. I'm the whole thing. Now, why did Mother Teresa go to tend to the poor in Calcutta? Because she looked at a starving child and said, oh my gosh, I'm starving. I better get me some food. But then our modern culture, our ideas of separation, competition, and sufficiency leads to the whole mess we see around us. We won't get into the details, but I think most of us would agree it's a mess. Huh. And I heard a great saying last year, I think it was in a movie or something, where someone's talking to God and says, hey, God, why do you allow murder and rape and human trafficking and war and violence and all this? And God says, I don't know. Why do you allow it? And in my understanding, it all comes down to a belief in separation. If you really lived and acted like we're one, all the problems in the world would be solved almost overnight. I'm not in that place. I'm not a head of a corporation or a world leader. No, I'm out to change lives one at a time. And studies in mass prayer have shown, do you know how many people we need to get on board before the whole world shifts?
I think I heard 1%.
It's the square root of 1%. So if we had about 10,000 people for the whole world, that's achievable, isn't it? If you said, Brent, we need 100 million people all working together, I go, yeah, that's impossible. Unless you're Mr. Beast or something. He could probably do it. But any normal person who's not a high level celebrity, impossible. But 10,000, I think, is doable. And that is my long term goal. I don't know if I personally can get 10,000 people there, but I'm going to do as much as I can, one person at a time, to elevate our consciousness, get past the separation, free us from slavery to the mind and the ego. And then your real life can begin. Your real life really starts. One of my teachers, Jim Drever, wrote a great book called How to Stop Your Story, Start Your Life. And that's what we're doing. We've
Mhm.
lived in a story, not realizing it's a story. It's only when you stop the story and be present to what's really happening, then your life begins. And I've always thought it's funny. There's that saying, life begins at 40. I had my own awakening at 41. So I would say life begins at 41. Maybe I was a little on the slow boat there.
I think I may be 42, maybe for me.
Okay.
I'm not 44. I suffered
Okay.
for 38 years, so 44.
Wow.
Yeah, that was it just reminded me of so many things that this separate the illusion of separation. I had this experience of oneness that wherever I looked, there I was, that there was no
Hmm.
separation. It's like that book back there, I am that. So
Yes.
after my healing journey, I just woke up one morning and wherever I looked, there I was. There was absolutely zero separation. So it was a really profound, like, finale. Okay, the world just seems so different to me now that everything has like a vibration to me now, like a
Hmm.
shimmer that I know ultimately that's what it is, this energy that we put into these various forms.
Yeah. It's very much like the movie The Matrix.
Yeah,
Many of us are trapped in a matrix of the mind and the ego, and we have no idea. And I don't blame anyone. I had no idea either. I don't think you did.
no, not a clue.
And many people never have an opportunity to break out of it.
Yeah.
I feel very blessed. I had some incredible teachers and mentors and guides who helped me to break out of the illusion. Kind of the
Hmm.
way that in the movie they broke Neo out of the Matrix and he came back to the real world where he's in a tube. And
Yeah,
don't worry,
exactly.
real freedom, you're not stuck in a tube having your life sucked out of you by weird aliens. That's a movie. Yeah, it's a metaphor.
Right.
But yes, the world looks different. It's simply you've changed your idea of you. And
Because
when I talk about
now you is everything.
Yes. When I talk about awakening, all awakening is it's a very simple thing. It has nothing to do with energy healing or angels or any of that. It's simply what is your idea of you? That's it. And when you get past the idea of the separate being and realize we're all one, more akin to a field effect like gravity, that gravity, can you find me one gravity and point to it? No, it's everywhere. We can measure the effects of it. And that's what consciousness is. That's life. And my goal is to help people wake up just to see the truth. And it was funny. One of my big breakthroughs I was so proud of, part of my 30 Days to Awakening program, I realized one day, oh my gosh, I am not a noun, I am a verb. And I put that into my material. And the first time I taught it, I'm like, hey guys, this is the essence of it. You are not a noun, you are a verb. And I remember one of the women raised her hand. She goes, Brent, you do know those exact words were written into the Vedic scriptures. I was like, oh, damn it. Some Indian guy beat me to it by 5,000 years. But I like to see that's proof of the truth
Yeah.
that many different people and cultures have all come to the same conclusion. And that's what I've found. If you look at the mystical aspects of various religions, it's almost all the same teachings. If you get under the surface, away from the dogma and theology and ritual, the monks that really dedicate their lives to this, they all found the same thing,
Right. The
right?
one witness.
Yes, the oneness, whether it's Jesus or Buddha or Mohammed or Moses or Lao Tzu, they all found the same thing. And it always seemed weird that everyone seems to think that their religion and their God view is the right one and everyone else is wrong. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That only there's one people that lived in this part of the world with this culture at this time that they got it right and they're going to heaven and everyone else is screwed. That's part of why I didn't like religion. It never made sense.
Yeah, religion has all this separation, these
Yep.
rules, and this dogma that really didn't make sense to me. But that's just my viewpoint. It just didn't make sense to me. So eventually, I found meditation was ultimately my teacher. Where
Mhm.
through meditation, with 3 days, I realized I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. This
It's
opened
amazing.
opened everything up because in my 20s, I nearly killed myself twice because I took my thoughts as truth. When I realized it wasn't my thoughts, then I asked, if I'm not my thoughts, then who am I?
Right. What am I? If I'm not this thing I thought I was, what the heck am I?
Right. Then I heard a voice a few weeks later say perfect spirit. And I was like, that's it. My spirit is perfect. Body and mind that are damaged. Then I just knew all was well and all my health challenges were over. For me, it
Yeah.
was over very quickly, but everyone has experienced their own human journey.
Yep. If you don't mind, throw people back in their chairs another time. In the New Age world, you hear a lot of the teaching, you are a spirit having a human experience. Brent says, Incorrect. Because the spirit is still a separate being, isn't it? You are the experiencing, the witnessing. Yes, there is a life force. Yes, it creates a body. But what we are transcends all that. You are all the life forces and all the bodies and all the not bodies,
Right.
the beginning and the end, up and the down, the alpha and the omega. Crazy. Once you're fully awake, you can find the truth in religion. It's just nearly impossible without it. It's
Right.
almost like learning a language, that once you learn the language, it's very easy to learn and read. But if you don't know the
Yeah.
language, it's impossible. Imagine if I had the winning lottery numbers, but I wrote them in some archaic numeral system that hasn't been used for 5,000 years. You'd have the lottery numbers. You couldn't do anything with it. It'd be impenetrable. That's what I found a lot of religion. Answers are there, but until you already know a lot of it, it's impenetrable. Honestly, I'm very impressed with people like you that find it on their own. I couldn't do that. I had to have human teachers. What took you 3 days took me like 7 years. That
We
was
all have
that.
our journey. That's what I said.
Yeah,
Don't compare yourself to another. You're going on your journey, and that's perfect.
exactly. I
Yeah.
remember one of my favorite brain teasers I solved in 20 minutes in my head. It takes most people like 8 hours with pencil and paper. So we're all just different. And when you can embrace that, you can love the difference. I think it's great that we're different. I'm really glad everyone doesn't share my favorite band. Why? I couldn't afford to go to the concerts. Are you kidding? If Dream Theater were as big as Taylor Swift, I could never see them. I love the fact I got to see them front row for $300. I'm really glad that not everyone loves them. That's great. If there was one kind of food we all loved, it would be really expensive, wouldn't it? And yeah, I was just like you, antisocial. I'm what they call high functioning autistic. And
Mm.
even though I'm in my sixth decade on this planet and I've had over 700 lives on Earth, I still refer to humans in the third person. I still don't feel like a human. I feel
Mm.
like a visitor. I'm from somewhere else. And just to be clear, I have a human body. I was born to human parents, right? I'm not saying I landed on a spaceship, but I look around at the other humans and go, yeah, you guys aren't quite the same as me. I don't get it. Beam me up, Scotty. This planet sucks. But again, that's my journey. Part of, for me, awakening was so important because it allowed me much greater space for love and compassion for myself and others. That before my life was wiped out, I really thought people on disability and such, they were just lazy or stupid. And then it happened to me. I'm like, oh crap. It really opened me up. It made me say, wow, I was wrong about so many things. I used to think I was so smart and so clever and knew so much. But really, I think intelligence is great, but wisdom is ultimately far more powerful. And I remember when I got my black belt in Taekwondo, I was so excited about it. And after I did, I fell into a little bit of a depression. And long story short, my teacher pulled me aside one day and goes, Brent, what's up? Are you having trouble with your family? Was there a breakup? Did you fail a class? Why? What's going on? I go, no, Steve. It's just I worked for so many years, worked so hard. And I thought when I got my black belt, I'd be a master of Taekwondo. But I really just feel I'm just increasingly aware of how little I know about it. And he gave a big laugh and slapped me on the back and said, yes, Brent, that's exactly what it is to be a black belt, is being aware of how little.
Yeah. And sometimes the best answer we can give is, I don't know. To be open to another possibility. Because the mind, like you were saying, thinks it has it all figured out. You have
Mm.
all the answers. Just let go of that answer and see if something new comes.
The mind isn't always wrong, but sometimes it is.
Absolutely. So, Brent, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I could speak to you for hours. I got all these notes for things I wanted to dive into. So,
Absolutely. Me too.
we'll have to do this again
Yeah,
sometime
yeah,
and
that'd
have
be
a
great.
part two because there's so many
That'd be great.
things that we need to cover.
We didn't even get into the beaming meditation, the movement, so many things we didn't even scratch on. So,
We didn't even scratch the surface. I think we
yeah,
can
yeah,
have part two, three, four, and into infinity. There's just so many
for
obstacles.
sure,
There's so
for sure.
many interests that we can get into here. But yeah, so if people had questions, how would they reach out to you?
So, best way to find me, go to my website, which is awakeningdynamics.com. So just pop over to awakeningdynamics.com. You could probably also just put my name, Brent Michael Phillips, into a search engine. On the homepage, you'll see a link to my YouTube channel, which is a great way to learn more, to know me a little bit. And I have a special offer for everyone listening and for the host and friends and family that anyone that has a serious interest in going deeper, you'll see a big button on my website that says podcast special or something. I will give you a 20-minute call for free to get to know you. My purpose of the call is to get to know you where you're at, where you want to get to, and for me to determine if I'm the right teacher for you, because I'm not right for everyone. And if so, I'll give you some guidance on, hey, this is how I think you're going to move forward. I'll try to refer you to someone that I think is a good fit. Because again, I'm not for everyone. I'm fast paced. I have no tolerance for nonsense. I solve problems. If that's you, we'll get along great. And we're all at different points in our journey. I think it's hilarious that Einstein's first job was as a math and physics tutor. He was terrible. He got fired because he couldn't relate to why teenagers were struggling with calculus. And my goal is to try to help everyone find the right guide, program, teacher to move them forward. So, if you're serious about this, get in touch. I'm happy to talk to you. We'll see where it goes. And again, YouTube channel, great place to get to know me better if you want to learn more first. That's awesome too.
I really enjoyed the conversation, so thank you for joining us today.
Oh, this has been amazing. I think my goal is if we can reach just one person and make a difference in their life, it's been a good day.